Hi everyone, I'm Elaine. Today in my project analysis video, I'm going to touch on Chuan Park, one of the very hyped up development for this year, because in this area, there wasn't any new launch or new development for the past 13 years. And something similar, for example, a couple of weeks ago, Norwood Grand was actually launched, and on the balloting day, on the launch day, the sales take-up was about 80%, also because there wasn't any new launch for the past 10 over years. So we would expect Chuan Park to have a good amount of demand in this area for this development. Okay, so let us take a look at this project. Again, to start off with some basic information, it's actually I'll consider a mega development of 916 units. And developer is actually Kingsford, and the last mega launch by Kingsford was actually Normanton Park. In my analysis video, I'll be using Normanton Park as a reference in terms of determining how the pricing strategy of this developer is. So we will then from there to determine what are the prices that we'll be looking at for Chuan Park. There's a total of 5 blocks, okay, 22-story, 3 blocks of 22-story, 2 blocks of 19-story. There's actually 2 shops within the development. So the smallest unit is actually a 2-bedder to the biggest unit of 5-bedder. Expected TOP 2028. So again, these are some project information. Like I mentioned, there's a total of 5 blocks, and in terms of the land size, it's actually 440,000 square feet of land size, so it's actually a very big piece of land. So 916 units, 2 shops, and estimated vacant possession, December 2028. So this is where the location is. I'm going to show you a more detailed location map later, but just to highlight that this is actually Chuan Park, and you can see that all this highlighted, right, are actually the landed enclave area. So I'm going to touch on the views later on also. In terms of the location, because Lorong Chuan MRT station is just at the doorstep of Chuan Park, and that's why in terms of the connectivity is very convenient. So one MRT stop, we can actually reach Bishan Junction 8, whereby you can have your shopping amenities over there, or if the other direction, also one stop to the Serangoon MRT station, you have your next shopping mall. Okay, so this is how it is well connected in terms of your daily necessities, no problem. In terms of your shopping, it's all within close proximity. And for Chuan Park, there's actually 5 primary schools within 1 kilometer. So these are all the schools that's listed. For example, the Kuo Chuan, St. Gabriel Primary School, Zhonghua Primary School, CHIJ, and Yangzheng Primary School. But just to take note that there are certain blocks that are within the 1 kilometer. It's all highlighted here. So this is something for you to take note in case you want to have a specific school in terms of the 1 kilometer. So you have to take note of the different blocks that's actually within the 1 kilometer range. So that's for the schools. In terms of the view, this is also important because later on when I'm going to analyze the pricing strategy, very much is depending on the different views that what are the units is going to offer. So the view number 1 is over here. So this is where the site is. This is where view number 1, whereby we have the very unblocked landed view. So that's towards the north facing. Then we have towards the other direction. This is view number 2. It's more towards the surrounding existing condo, which is over here, is actually Spring Bloom. All right, and then we have another view over here, which is actually towards the NJC, right? And of course, not forgetting the inwards facing, whereby we have our own swimming pool landscaping view. Okay, so this is actually the direction. We can see over here, 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks are actually true north and south facing. So towards here, this facing will be towards the north, and then over here will be towards the south. Only this block is slightly tilted, so it's more towards the northwest and the southeast facing. So that's for the facing for the 5 different blocks. Now this is where I want to highlight because I have actually plotted the site plan. This is the site plan within this whole location map. So over here, like I mentioned just now, the different views that Chuan Park is going to have towards this facing, towards the north facing, this is where all the landed is. So for a mid to high floor, you definitely will enjoy a very nice unblocked views. Then towards on the left side over here is where we have another existing condo, the Golden Hill Park condominium. And then on the other side, this will be the more towards the HDB facing. And this is where the south facing, we have an existing Spring Bloom development. I'm going to touch on that later as well to make a good comparison. And some of the, remember this block is actually slightly tilted. So units that's going to be here will be facing more towards the Nanyang Junior College. Okay, so this is where the different views that the Chuan Park is going to have. Okay, so looking at next, the site plan, distribution chart, and the unit mix. So like I mentioned, there's going to be 5 blocks, total of 5 blocks. There's 3 of them are actually 22nd story high, and 2 of them is actually 19 story high. This is of the more important slide that you have to take note, which is the unit mix. So because this is a mega development and total of 916 units, from here what we can see is that for 2-bedroom, there's a total of 44%. 44% is actually made up of 2-bedroom. So that will mean to say about 400 units of 2-bedroom. And then again, for the 3-bedroom, it's 47%. So again, 400 over units. 4-bedroom will be 6.6%. And then 5-bedroom, 2.4%. So in specifically, especially for the 2 and 3-bedroom, the percentage is on the higher side, which means there's going to be a lot of units as well. But we are going to look into, because for 2-bedroom, there's a different unit type. There's different floor plans for 2-bedroom and different floor plans for 3-bedroom. So later on, I'm going to also touch on which are the one. Let's say today you are looking at a 2-bedroom. Which is the correct unit that you should be looking at? Is it going to be the smaller 2-bedroom or is it going to be the bigger of the 2-bedroom? So same thing for 3-bedroom because for Chuan Park 3-bedroom, there's actually a lot of different floor plan, different layout. So we're going to look into that into details later. So like I mentioned, the analysis can be quite intensive today, but not to worry because I will break down this whole video into different chapters. So if let's say, for example, you are looking at 3-bedroom in specific, so you can actually just go straight to the 3-bedroom analysis. So before I go into the layout specific to analyze what are the different layout and what is something that you should be looking at, I would want to also address this concern that many buyers are actually asking. So for Chuan Park, because there wasn't any new launch for the past 13 years, correct? So that means to say, I wouldn't have any newer development at the surrounding to take a good price reference. So today, if let's say I'm going to enter Chuan Park at an average price of $2,005 per square foot. Now, even though the indicative guide price has been released at about 2002-ish to 2003, I would still be using about 2005 as an average price to analyze this whole development. So then the next question is, at 2005, because the nearby surrounding, there wasn't any newer development, it's actually going to be a new price tag in this area. So if that's the case, is it still worth considering Chuan Park at $2,005 average? Okay, so I'm going to take Riverfront Residences versus Evergreen Park because, again, like I mentioned, there isn't any new launch. So we are going to expect a very huge price gap between Chuan Park and the old development. So I'm going to take a case studies of Riverfront Residences versus Evergreen Park. So Riverfront Residences, both of them are also in District 19. So the tenure for Riverfront is 99 years from 2018, okay, which is about 6 years old. So at the point of time when Riverfront was launched, okay, Evergreen Park is actually 99 years from 1995. That means to say between these two developments, there's actually a 23 years old difference. So at the point of time when Riverfront was launched, the next slide, and versus Evergreen Park, in terms of the difference in the age of the property was actually 23 years old. So let us look at the purchase price right then, purchase price at the point of time when Riverfront was launched. In 2018, the purchase price, launch price, was actually 1193, close to 1,002. So now if we were to look back, 1,002 plus per square foot seems like a very decent price, right? But at the point of time, 1,002 per square foot, Evergreen purchase price was actually just at $666 per square foot. So we can see that Riverfront was actually bought 80% higher. So Riverfront buyers who enter into Riverfront Residences bought 80% higher than Evergreen Park. But fast forward now, we take a look at how much both of the developments has actually profited. So for Evergreen Park, there was a decent profit of 49% in terms of the, we cannot take the absolute quantum, but we take the per square foot in terms of the profit. So there was actually a 49% profit. But for Riverfront Residences, although it was purchased 80% higher, the profit is actually at 55%. So it is actually slightly higher, or if not very similar to what this Evergreen Park was actually profit. So in summary, Riverfront Residences bought 80% higher, but in terms of the profit, it wasn't compromised. It was very similar to what Evergreen Park has profited over this period of time. So this is the case study for Riverfront and Evergreen Park. So now we want to take a look. Chuan Park as a brand new development, so 99 years, brand new development. We want to take the next door development, which is actually Spring Bloom, to do a comparison. So Spring Bloom is actually 99 years from 1995. Just now, the age gap was 23 years old difference. And now between Chuan Park and Spring Bloom, it's actually a 29 years difference. So let us take a look. For Spring Bloom, the current transacted price is at 1,588, close to 1,006. Now, if let's say Chuan Park projected per square foot, I would say, let's say for example, an average price of 2,005. At 2,005 per square foot, it is only going to be just 58% higher. If let's say you were to even enter Chuan Park at $2,006 per square foot, it's only 64% higher than what Spring Bloom has transacted. So remember just now, for the case study, it was actually 80% higher. But if I were to compare Chuan Park and Spring Bloom, at 2005, it's only 58% higher. So definitely the case study that we have actually did reference to in terms of the per square foot price, even it was about 80% higher, but the profit was actually the same. So if let's say today I were to enter just 58% higher, how much profit, or whether am I able to profit from Chuan Park? So this one, I'll leave it to you to do your own analysis and to look at what is the potential profit that we're going to have. Of course, I'm not going to say, we cannot promise or guarantee like it's going to be the same 50% kind of profit, but what we are trying to show in terms of the reference that we've taken from the previous example is that although there is actually a big price gap, but it is still something that we can be looking at, because past example has already shown in terms of the higher purchase price, but very similar profits. So this is the price analysis for Chuan Park in general. So this is what, to sum up, Riverfront bought 80% higher but makes similar profit. If Chuan Park is going to launch at 2006, it's going to be just 60% higher. If you can get something at 2005, it's going to be actually just about 58% higher. So this is for the pricing guide in general. Next, I will also want to go into the developer pricing strategy. So at the beginning of my video, I did mention that the last mega project by Kingsford was actually Momentum Park. So I'm going to use that Momentum Park pricing strategy to determine what is the pricing strategy for Chuan Park. Because for developer, whatever pricing strategy that they have actually used, right, they're going to use back very similar pricing strategy for their upcoming and new developments. So that's usually how it works. So let us take a look at this, how Momentum Park is actually priced. So case study, Momentum Park, also a very mega development. We have got different views. AYE view, AYE city facing, which is probably not so good a facing because of the road noise. Then we have our inner pool facing view. We have our views facing towards the park and the sea. So definitely this is the best view because towards the park and the sea is actually very unblocked views. Okay. So now, first thing to look at in terms of Momentum pricing strategy, developer actually place a premium in the facing. So just now as I mentioned, the premium is definitely the park and the sea facing, and the least premium is definitely the AYE facing. So in this case, the AYE facing, two-bedder, the park facing, two-bedder, we can see that there's actually a 5.8% premium in terms of the sea and the park facing for high floor, for the highest floor. And for the mid floor, there's actually a 5%. For the low floor, there's a 5%. So in average, that means to say, developer place a 5% premium for the best view, for the park and the sea facing. So that's for AYE versus park. Next, we have the AYE versus the pool facing. So for AYE and pool facing, again, pool is definitely because it's the inner facing. So nicer views and lesser noise. So this is also the second premium, I would say, in Normanton Park. So between these two pricing, we are seeing an average about 4% premium if I were to consider the pool facing instead of the AYE facing. Lastly, just now was park being the best facing, then pool being the second premium, and the least premium was AYE. So if I'm going to take the park facing and the pool facing, the premium that I'm going to pay for the park, right, is actually around average of 1% only. For the lower floors, it's only 0.6%. For the higher floors, it's actually 1.5% premium. So what does this mean to say? That means to say, if I want to get something which is very price attractive, then I will go for, in Normanton Park, I'll go for the least premium facing, which is the AYE facing, because I can actually save about 5% premium for the not so good facing. But if I want to get the good facing, or rather the premium facing, instead of the pool, I probably will just go straight to the park and sea facing because the difference is very little. For the mid and the low floor, it's only a 0.6% premium. So if I were to pay for the pool, I might as well just pay a little bit more for the park facing because it's going to be park and sea facing and it's going to be unblocked view. So this is how Normanton Park pricing strategy is for the two-bedder. Next thing, because Normanton Park is also a very high-rise development, now we have determined either I will just go for the least premium, which is AYE, or go for the best facing, which is the park and the sea. Next thing, if I'm going for the park and the sea or whichever, or the AYE facing, should I go for the lower floors or the higher floors? Because different developer, they have their different pricing strategy. What developer will want to have is an average profit margin. So definitely some of the units will be priced more attractively and developer probably don't even profit from all these units. But they will actually put a premium to other facing, which is like what I mentioned, the park facing, the sea facing, they put a premium to that and they will actually make a little bit more profit from these units. So now we have determined the facing, we want to look at the per floor jump. And this is something very interesting for Normanton Park. Why is that so? Now, if you look at the per floor jump premium, we are actually looking at just a 0.2% to 0.3% premium in terms of the per floor jump. And this is for the park and the sea. So what does it mean to say? Go for the highest floor possible because the premium is so little. So then the next question is, what is a norm for a per floor jump? If I were to take, let's say for example, a quantum of 2 million, and 2 million, usually if let's say I'll be looking at 0.5% premium, so I'll be looking at probably per floor jump is about that 10 to 15,000 difference. But this one is only at 0.2% premium. So it's very little for the per floor jump. You can look at the quantum, absolute quantum, right? It's only just a $2,000 to $3,000. So for Normanton Park, go for the high floors. So same thing, this is actually for the park and sea facing. Similarly for the pool facing, it's also very little premium. $2,000 per square, $2,000 not per square foot, $2,000 absolute quantum per floor increment. Okay, and then for the AYE city facing, similarly, we are looking at very little premium. So if, let's say, this pricing strategy applies to also Chuan Park, then we will definitely want to go for the higher floor possible instead of the lower floor because the premium they're going to pay is very, very little. So now we take a look at Chuan Park. In terms of the facing right now, to sum up what we have analyzed for Normanton Park. So just now was actually the park and the sea facing. So for Chuan Park, okay, over here, the best facing in terms of the view, just now earlier in my video, as I mentioned, will be towards here, whereby we have the landed unblock. Then the not so good facing could be actually, very likely is towards here, where you have another development which is Spring Bloom. Over here, there's also another development. So the outwards facing would be the least premium. So best facing would be towards the unblock. The second one would be more towards the inner facing, very similar to Normanton Park, which is the pool facing. And the not so good one, in terms of the best price units, right, it should be the outwards facing over here. Okay, so that's for Chuan Park. Again, before I go into the specific layout, we want to talk about rental. Now, why is that so? Because a lot of buyers are very attracted to where the location of Chuan Park is because MRT is just doorstep. So a lot of my clients has been asking me, can we actually get something for Chuan Park for rental purpose? And is rental yield going to be very attractive for Chuan Park? So let us take a look at the rental in a district where we have quite a number of condo supply. Okay. So in terms of the, we take a case study, Riverfront Residences again versus Sengkang Grand. Now, why we want to look at these two developments? Because Riverfront Residences is 17 minutes walk to MRT station. Not too bad, maybe not so walkable, but it's a distance, all right? But Sengkang Grand is integrated development. The MRT is just downstairs. Okay. In terms of the rental that we are looking at, right now we are looking at the unit type, which is 2-bedroom. The average rental for Riverfront Residences, which is not so near to MRT station, is around $3,300 for Riverfront Residences, 2-bedroom. For Sengkang Grand, the average rental is $3,600. So in terms of the absolute rental, we are looking at just about a $300 difference for a 2-bedroom unit. But not forgetting, Sengkang Grand Residences in terms of the purchase price is definitely more premium because it's an integrated development. MRT is just doorstep. So now the question is, with Chuan Park at MRT doorstep, do we actually buy just because of the rental yield? So now we take a look at this one. The Scala, which is actually 5 minutes walk to MRT station, which is actually just beside Chuan Park as well. The average rental is $4,500 for a 2-bedroom. If I were to use an estimate per square foot of $2,600 per square foot, a 700 square feet 2-bedroom will cost about 1.8 mil, so 1.7-ish to 1.8 mil. If my estimated rental is going to be very similar to Scala, which is $4,500, my rental yield will be 3%. If I am able to fetch a higher rental, maybe because it's a newer development, at $5,000, my rental yield will be 3.3% rental yield. So in summary, what we want to also highlight in this case study, in this example, is that yes, Chuan Park in terms of the location is definitely very accessible because MRT is just doorstep. But getting Chuan Park just because of the rental purpose of the rental yield may not be something that we should be looking at if we want to be entering Chuan Park as an investment point of view. And in fact, over here, I would say that a lot of buyers are looking at Chuan Park as a homestay, own stay demand. Why is that so? Because we don't have any new launch for the past 13 years. And although Singapore is not very big, but most of us, especially upgraders, when we are so used to the environment and the location that we have been staying in, very often we'll be looking forward to something near within our home, within our this vicinity, because we want to actually continue staying in this area, in this location, because we are so familiar with it. So that we'll be expecting a lot of upgraders, a lot of people around that area who wants to change their portfolio coming into Chuan Park. So this is first thing. So if we were to consider something in Chuan Park, I would say that the own stay element is very strong. Even if you were to get something for investment, we should also be looking at layouts that will actually attract and cater to homestayers later on when we want to resell it in the resale market. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, in terms of the rentability, yes, because there is going to be, there's actually a few international schools over there. So again, international schools, usually they are actually families coming into Singapore because the kids are going to study in the international school. And because of that, definitely I think that in terms of the units that they'll be looking at to rent is definitely probably the bigger unit size because they come as a family to study in the international school. Next thing would be, although MRT is just doorstep, but maybe I can also ask you a question. why are the rental yield in, let's say, in Tanjong Pagar area, in the CBD area, why are the rental yield usually higher in these areas? Even though in Tanjong Pagar, right, it may not be all the condos are actually just doorstep to MRT station, but because expatriates are there, they work there, and they want to actually explore areas within the close proximity. They want to get a place whereby it's actually very close to their workplace. So if you are coming to Singapore, just imagine yourself coming to Singapore. Let's say you're a foreigner coming to Singapore, you know that your working place is in a CBD area. You will also want to have your priority in terms of your place to stay within the close proximity. It's not so much of getting, it's not so much of like you explore the MRT lines to see which is the projects that are actually along the MRT lines, because that will not be the most priority when you're looking for a home near your workplace. So this is something to think about in terms of getting for the rental yield in Chuan Park. So having said about the whether a new price tag in Chuan Park, is it something worth considering? Having discussed about the potential pricing strategy for Kingsford in Chuan Park, Momentum Park, and then also in Chuan Park. Now we look at the different layout that Chuan Park is going to offer us in terms of the 2, 3, 4, and 5 bedroom. So we will start off with 2 bedroom first. 2 bedroom smallest unit is actually 700 square feet. This one is actually a very conventional classic layout. You come in, you have your open concept kitchen, and then you have your walkway to 2 rooms. This is usually the layout that we've seen many of this very conventional and similar layout. And this one is more of the layout that we always will mention. It offers a little bit more privacy as compared to the dumbbell, because you have a walkway to both of your rooms. So this is 700 square feet, proper, but I think probably a slightly smaller dining area. And also because 2 bedrooms, like we always mention in our analysis video, 2 bedrooms are actually in the middle stacks, so you will not have any windows in your bathroom and your kitchen area. So this is for 2 bedroom, 700 square feet. And we have got, in terms of facing, right, it's mostly towards the inner facing, which is your pool facing area. Pool facing, landscaping, pool facing. Okay, next will be 2 bedroom plus study. So 2 bedroom plus study, we have 2 different sizes, 732 and 743. Looking at these 2 layouts is actually quite a big difference. Let us take a look at 732 first. So 732 is actually a 2 plus study dumbbell layout. Coming in, again, you have your open concept kitchen. You have 1 room at one side. So some buyers actually do prefer dumbbell layout, and they will say that, hey, maybe this bedroom 2 and study, right, they can do it into a very big master bedroom as well, because your study you can actually enclose up this area, and this study becomes part of your bedroom. So it can actually be really a study or actually a walk-in wardrobe. So some buyers actually do prefer this. But just one thing to note is that the dining space is quite compromised. It's actually quite awkward also, because if you were to put a dining table over here, it's actually outside of your master bedroom. So I'm not too sure, after you put your dining and your chairs over here, will it actually, I think most likely it will actually be blocking the entrance of your master bedroom. So this one, just something to take note. Okay, now we take a look at the 743. At one glance, when we look at the 743 layout, we thought that it was a little bit awkward as well because of the study being placed here. But this is actually one of the show unit in Chuan Park. After looking at the actual size and the space that it offers, right, this is actually a very good layout. Because why? We can actually make some alterations to how it can, the layout, how it can be configured. Okay, so this is actually the entrance. All right, you have a kitchen over here. Then you have your living, dining. You have your bedroom, master bedroom, and bedroom 2 here. Study is actually over here. One suggestion is that you can actually push back the master bedroom door entrance to actually over here. Because in any way, this space you don't really use it, it's actually just a walkway into your master bedroom. So if you were to push back the door, master bedroom door, to just here, this whole space is not just your study. It can be a very spacious dining area. So your living can be the whole of here, this area here, and you can have your dining. how often you can have a very spacious dining for a 2-bedroom layout. So this is something for you to consider because you can just make little configuration and alteration. You can enjoy very spacious dining. More importantly, for the 732, we actually have got, Chuan Park has got 195 units for this layout. But for 743, there is only 104 units. So remember just now at the start of my video, I did mention for 2 bedrooms, there's a total of 40%, which means that it's actually about 400 units of 2-bedroom. So it's important to understand which unit type has got the least supply because that will be unique when you want to resell it later on in the resale market. So for this, for 743, you can actually make little alteration and yet the number of units is actually lesser, much lesser. So this is something for you to consider. So therefore, in terms of our top choices, my first choice for 2-bedroom, I will go for the 743, which is this layout. But the other unit, right, the other layout will be 700 square feet. The only thing is that 700 square feet are mostly the inner facing. So if I were to use $100 per square foot to calculate the absolute quantum, 700 square feet, I use a 2650 per square foot to calculate the quantum is about 1.855. If I were to go for 743, because it's the outer facing, remember just now in my Momentum Park pricing strategy analysis, for the outer facing is actually the least premium. So it could be the best price unit. So for 743, if I were to take $100 lesser in terms of the per square foot, my total quantum is 1.895. So that means to say if I were to compare between 700 and 743 square feet, I will only need to top up just a little bit, close to 40,000, but I enjoy a very spacious layout for my 2-bedroom. So this is my selection for a 2-bedder. Next, I want to look into the 3-bedder. But before that, we also want to look at the pricing strategy for a 3-bedder. So same thing, I'm going to use back Momentum Park. So for 3-bedroom in Momentum Park, we do not have the AYE facing, but we have got units facing towards the direct west facing. So if that's the case, this is usually the least premium or the not so good facing because of the direction. So we have the park and the sea, we have the pool facing, and we have the west facing. So again, we want to look at the premium in terms of the facing, west facing versus park facing. West versus park, I have a premium of 3.5%, or I'll say averagely about 3.5 to 4% for the park and the sea facing for a 3-bedroom. If it's a west and the pool facing, the average difference in terms of premium is about 3 to 4% premium for a pool facing. So remember, lastly, we want to compare the best two facing, which is the park and the pool facing. The premium is very, very little. So this percentage is also very similar to what we see in a 2-bedroom. So that means to say, if I want to go for the most attractive price, I'll go for, in this case, it will be the west facing. Because if not, then I will need to pay for around a 4% premium if I were to go for the better facing. So if I want to have the best attractive price, I will be considering the west facing. But if I want to have the best premium, instead of just looking at the pool, I might as well just go for the park and the sea facing because the premium is so little. It's just a 0.over%. And you can actually see from here, right, as the level goes higher, the premium is actually lesser. So higher floor, best facing for Momentum Park, 3-bedroom. So again, we look at the per floor jump, very similarly, very little premium. So for Momentum Park, go for the higher floor possible because the premium is actually placed in terms of the facing, not so much on the per floor jump. So again, this is for the pool. Similarly, we can see that it's very little, 0% premium only. And also for the west facing, it's all the same. So this is the pricing strategy for Kingsford in Momentum Park. Now, again, we want to apply it to Chuan Park. Same thing as the 2-bedder, the 3-bedder has got a similar pricing strategy as well. If I want to go for the best price, I go for the outwards facing. If I want to go for premium, go straight to the landed unblock. Or if not, unless you're someone who actually do prefer the inner facing, which is the pool facing, then of course you can consider the pool facing. But the pool facing premium and the landed facing premium could potentially be very similar to Normanton Park, means to say that it's very, very little premium, very thin difference. Okay, so now 3-bedroom layout. There are a lot of layouts in terms of the 3-bedroom. We have the classic layout, which is 3 layouts already. We have the deluxe, which is another 2 different layout, and we have got premium, another 3 layouts. So a total of 3, 6, 8 layout, 8 different layouts for 3-bedroom. So this is something again to consider a 3-bedroom. We really need to look at which is the best one, because again it's 40%, 400 over units. So we want to be able to identify which will potentially be the best layout to look at. So to start off with, will be 3-bedder classic, 3-bedroom classic. Okay, just now as I mentioned, classic, there's going to be 3 layouts over here. But I will want to classify the type C1B into, I want to classify this together with the deluxe. I'm going to explain to you why later, because it's more, the layout is actually much similar to the deluxe. So for 3-bedder classic, let us look at the 2 different layouts, which is 915 and 936. So for 915 is actually stack 8 and 11 is the outer face. We have outer facing, we have a pool facing. So 2 different stacks. So coming in, we have our living and dining area. Okay, and then we have our master, bedroom 2, bedroom 3. So a very conventional layout for 3 compact. Next, we have our 936, which is the outer facing. And then we have got also again, very conventional layout. Just to take note that there's actually windows in the master bedroom, which is not so common for a 3 compact. In terms of the toilet, in terms of the windows in toilets, we have got windows over here in the bathroom, and we also have got windows in the kitchen. Same for 936 layout. One thing to highlight. So this is important for Chuan Park to identify the number of units for each layout. So for 915, there's only 44 units. For 936, it's actually 104 units. So my top choice for the 3-bedroom classic will be 915 because of one very big difference that I forgot to highlight over here. Now, if you look at the living and dining area for these 2 layouts, we can very obviously see that for 915, we have a very wide dining space. So this is where you will really have a proper dining area. But for 936, although it's a bigger size, but my dining area is much more constrained. I don't have the width over here for my dining. And I think this is important because 3-bedroom, own stay, you will at least have a small family. So the dining space, if I were to compare these 2, I would definitely prefer the 915. And also not just that, as I mentioned, the number of units because lesser supply. So anything that is of a lesser supply would means definitely a better demand later on. So for my top choice for 3-bedroom classic, I will go for 915 square feet. Okay, next, 3-bedder deluxe. So just now as I mentioned, 958 is actually considered the classic, but I want to group it together with the deluxe so that I have 3 floor plans in comparison because they are very similar. So 958, 1023 and 1033. Let us take a look at the floor plan. So coming in again, a very classic and conventional layout. I have my proper windows in my kitchen. Then I have the 3 bedrooms. Okay, same thing for 1023. Also similarly 3 bedrooms, conventional layout. But one big difference is where the kitchen is placed. So if you look at this, right, the kitchen is actually in a different direction, and because of that, the entrance to the kitchen is over here. So then the question is, if I were to put my dining over here, I'll be blocking the entrance of the kitchen, unless I'm going to put it here, then it's going to be a little bit awkward also. So for 1023, in terms of the dining space, it may be a little bit awkward in such a manner. So that's for 1023. 1033, Now this 1033 is something very similar to just now what we have seen for 915 square feet, a very spacious dining area. So even though this tree layout, it looks quite similar, you have got bomb shelter over here, and the kitchen is actually 958 kitchen and 1033 kitchen is, the position is the same. So comparing these two, right, but 1033 enjoys a very spacious dining. Another thing to take note is that 958 in terms of the facing is actually the outer facing over here, but the outer facing, right, is actually towards the landed. So that means to say for 958, although it's a smaller size, but remember the pricing strategy, in terms of the per square foot, it may be priced more premium for this 958 square feet layout. Then versus 1033 is actually towards the outer facing. So in terms of per square foot, it could be actually more attractively priced, but then I can actually enjoy a much bigger space for my 3-bedroom. So because of that, I will actually go for 1033, which is the very spacious dining. 1023 is something, the one in the middle over here is probably something I will be least preferred because of how the kitchen is positioned. So 1033 is my top choice. So again, as I mentioned, because 958, although it seems to be, 958 is actually a much smaller size, but because of the facing, it can command a higher premium in terms of per square foot price. And if that's the case, right, I would calculate, let's say for example, 958 by 2006, my quantum price is about 2.49, about 2.5 million. But if 1033, because of the least premium in the facing, I use $100 per square foot difference, my total quantum is 2.58 million. And that means to say, for just a top up of 90,000, I can enjoy a much spacious living for my 3-bedroom. So that means to say, that's why my top choice for 3-bedroom deluxe will be 1033. So 3-bedroom classic will be 915 because of how the dining is can offer, so in terms of the space. Similarly, for 1033, very spacious dining, and that's why I'm opting for this choice unit, this layout, yet I can actually enjoy much attractive per square foot pricing because of the facing. So that's for 3 Classic and 3 Deluxe. Lastly, we have 3-bedroom Premium. 3-bedroom Premium, the sizes are relatively bigger. We have got 1026 for two different layouts of 1026 and 1227. So what's the difference? We look at the floor plan. This one, okay, we have got, for the 1206, there is actually a WC and a home shelter over here at the entrance of the door. So this one, the positioning of the home shelter, if let's say you don't have a helper at home, and this home shelter is purely for storage, then I think this layout will work because your storage, right, is actually tucked to one side. It's behind your main entrance, behind your door. So you don't really see your bomb shelter eating into the space of your living or your kitchen area. So, but if let's say you do have a helper and your helper needs to stay in the home shelter, then it could be a little bit weird because of the main entrance door and the home shelter door will actually knock onto one another. So this is something for you to take note of for this 106 Type C3 layout. Next, 1206, right now, for this one, we do not have a home shelter, but we have a store over here. So this could probably be a better positioning of the store if your helper needs to stay in this space over here. Okay, and you also have a WC over here, so it's actually good for buyers who actually do have a helper. For 1227, because of how the home shelter is placed here, right? Like I mentioned, 1206 is actually tucked to one side, so it doesn't eat into your living or dining space. But for 1227, because of how this is positioned, it kind of like eats into your dining space area. So this is something for you to take note. Comparing the 3 layouts of 3-bedroom Premium, because the size is actually much bigger as compared to the 3-bedroom Deluxe, let's do a comparison. So 3-bedroom Premium 1206 and 1227 versus 3-bedroom Deluxe of 1033. Comparing all this layout, right, I will still go for the 3-bedroom deluxe, which is 1033. Because the reason is, in terms of the size top up for 1,002 square feet, I may not be getting the most efficient layout. And also in terms of the pricing, because 1033, remember, is actually the outer facing. So if I were to use a 2,005 per square foot in terms of the facing for 1033, $2,500 per square foot, my total quantum is about 2.582. And because of the type C3B is the landed facing. So that means to say my landed facing, my per square foot definitely command a higher premium. So I were to use a 2006, $100 different, my quantum is 3.19. For C3, inner facing, the second premium, if I were to use the in-between of just a $50 top-up, 2,550 per square foot, my total quantum is at 3.075, close to 3.1. So from a 3-bedroom deluxe to upsize to a 1,002 3-bedroom premium, I am looking at a relatively big gap of the total quantum price. So I'm probably looking at about 400,000 to 500,000 in terms of the additional top-up. So this is something that you may want to reconsider if you're looking at the 1,002 square feet for 3 premium. Probably a better choice to go for 3 deluxe. But if you do have the budget for a 3 premium, the next thing that you can consider is probably the 4-bedroom, which is at 1,335 square feet, because the size difference is actually quite small gap. It's quite small difference from a 1,227 to a 1,335. And because of that, right, let us take a look at in terms of the total quantum again. 4-bedroom, for example, I want to use a type D1 at 1,335 square feet. My per square foot price, because it's actually the inner facing and because it's a bigger unit, so my per square foot, I will adjust it to 2,550 per square foot. My total quantum is actually at 3.27, which is about 3.3 million. But if I were to look at the 1206 and 1227 at 2,550 or $2,006 per square foot because of the landed facing over here, right? My quantum is actually at 3 over million, remember? So for 3 premium at quantum of 3 million, you can actually top up a little bit more to get a proper 4-bedroom at a quantum of just 3.2, 3.3 million. So that is the comparison between 3 premium and 4-bedroom. Okay, next we will be looking at exactly the 4-bedroom layout. So just now I was doing a comparison. That's why I bring in the 4-bedroom floor plan to come in to compare with the 3 premium. But if we were to compare just the 4-bedroom, let us take a look. There's actually 2 different floor plans, 1,335 and 1,389. So the main difference of these 2 layouts is how the store and the home shelter is positioned. For 1,335, same thing, because the store is here, it's in a little bit into the dining space, which is over here. So, but if you do have a helper and you need the space for helper's area, then maybe something to consider for 1,335. Whereas for 1,389, because the store is here, good for storage because it's hidden, tucked away at the side. But maybe in terms of staying inside the home shelter, it may be a little bit of concern because of how the doors needs to be actually permanently closed for this 1,389. So these 2 layout, I would say, is more of an individual preference because the size difference is not very big difference. And in terms of the units available, it's also relatively lesser units because it's a 4-bedroom, 38 units and 22 units. And both of the floor plans are actually towards the inner facing. So I would say in terms of the per square foot pricing, it will not be too big a difference for these 2 different layouts. It will be more of an individual preference as to how you want it, whether you want to consider a store or home shelter over here. So that's for 4-bedroom. But in my opinion, I will actually go for this one, 1,389, where the store is tucked away, because for a 4-bedroom, I would still prefer a more spacious dining space. So that's my choice for 4-bedroom. Next, we look at the 5-bedroom layout. So for 5-bedroom, there is actually just one layout for 5-bedroom, which is 1,550, and 1,550 5-bedroom enjoys the best view. This is actually over here, which is towards the unblocked landed view. So just something to take note in terms of this 5-bedroom. There is actually no wardrobe in bedroom 3 and 4, so you have to construct your own wardrobe space for these 2 rooms. In terms of how the layout is, there is actually a junior master, which I think is actually good for a 5-bedroom because you might be staying with parents, and then parents can still enjoy their own privacy in this junior master bedroom. Then you have your master bedroom over here, a his and a her sink, which I think is good for a 5-bedroom again. Then we have our bedroom 2, 3, 4, and 5 over here. Spacious dining space, spacious living space, just that the dry kitchen over here is something different, because sometimes for a dry kitchen, it's more of an island over here, but this one is actually tucked to a side, which I think is okay because it will actually makes a dining space which looks more spacious. So that's for the 5-bedroom. And there is only one stack, which means to say there's only 22 units. So for 5-bedroom, it's very niche, because not many buyers will be looking at the 5-bedroom. And in terms of the total quantum price, it definitely will be on the higher side, plus the fact that it's actually the premium facing. So this is 5-bedroom. The next question is, if I were to consider a 5-bedroom in Chuan Park, is it even worth considering? So now we want to look at the supply and demand of the 5-bedroom in a close vicinity. Because for 5-bedroom, quantum is going to be high, so I also want to understand, if I were to pay a premium for a 5-bedroom in Chuan Park, can I sell later? What will be the premium that I can fetch later on? So we need to understand the supply and demand of 5-bedroom in this Lorong Chuan area. In terms of the demand, we are not able to guess, or we are not able to know the demand of, in specific, how many buyers of a 5-bedroom will there be later on, 3 to 5 years later. But we can determine the supply currently right now in this area, because supply is a fact. So supply of 5-bedroom in Lorong Chuan, we see the close vicinity, right? I can only see that there is only one development having 3 units of 5-bedroom. The rest of the developments close vicinity, there is no 5-bedroom. So in terms of the supply, it's actually severely undersupplied for this whole area in Lorong Chuan. Next thing would be, okay, now that I know that I determined that supply is so little, very little supply. So if I were to own a 5-bedroom in Chuan Park, next time definitely my unit will be very different, can stand out because there's no supply. But the next thing I want to know, because remember in terms of the facing towards the north, there is so many landed over there. So if I were to pay a premium for 5-bedroom, I probably can also pay for the similar quantum. I can actually get a landed in the close vicinity also. So let us take a look. We actually did a search for landed below 4 million. Mostly are approximately 2,000 square feet, which means to say each floor will be about 1,000 square feet, and for each floor, it may actually feel slightly smaller than your typical condo area. Because for 3-bedroom premium in Chuan Park, remember, the size is already, for one floor plate is already at 1,200. And then for 4-bedroom, it's actually 1,300 plus. And for 5-bedroom, it's 1,500. But if I were to get a landed, the per floor is only about averagely 1,000 square feet, so it may feel slightly smaller. And the type of landed that's available in that area is either older freehold terrace that will require major renovation. You probably have to do an A&A. Easily, the renovation cost is at least $600,000 to $1 million to do the A&A and to re-renovate the whole place. Or if not, will be the older of the 99 years cluster housing. So that means to say, for below 4 million quantum, if you want to get a decent size, a decent landed in that area, you probably won't have a lot of choices. More of the older landed houses in that area for below 4 million. So now we know that in terms of the quantum, we don't have a lot of choices for landed, unless you're prepared to pay a hefty amount for renovation, And also in terms of the 5-bedroom, there's also very little supply. So what happens when there's very little supply? So as I mentioned earlier, we cannot determine how much demand, how much buyers will be coming in to look at your 5-bedroom. But we can determine what is the supply right now in the current market situation. So what happens if there is very little supply? We want to take reference, again, we want to take examples from previous case study that has been proven to analyze what's going to happen. So for Tampines, for example, Treasure at Tampines, there's a total of 110 units. So again, back then, for Treasure at Tampines, for a 5-bedroom, the quantum is very high if you compare to the surrounding developments. But again, at a point of time, in terms of the closed areas over there, we do not have any 5-bedroom supply. Like for example, Moderna is only 4-bed, My Manhattan is only 4-bed. The biggest floor plate is actually all 4-bed. Only East Point Green, we have a 5-bedroom, but there's only a total of 8 units. So again, very similar situation, very little 5-bedroom supply. For Treasure at Tampines, 110. That is actually at the point of time, the newest and the most supply already. So what happened? Fast forward to today, the 5-bedroom at Treasure at Tampines, we can see that the profit that this 5-bedder owners make is actually ranges from close to 600 to 900 over 1,000 profit. Because why? Even though there is 110 units for in terms of the supply, but not all 110 units are out for sale. If you are a buyer that has bought a 5-bedroom, very likely majority are actually for own stay. So not so much for resale in later on when it TOP. So because of that, very little supply, they make actually a very decent profit for the 5-bedroom. Next, that was in Tampines. The other one will be Marymount area in terms of the supply. Again, we take reference to also a much newer development, which is Jadescape. At the point of time when Jadescape was launched, there was only 39 units of 5-bedroom. So we look at the closed vicinity in that area, right? Only Xinmin Plaza, which is actually a very old development, 1996, TOP 1996. There's only Xinmin Plaza with a 5-bedroom. The rest of it, right, the biggest is actually just 4-bedroom. So again, same situation. Brand new development having 39 units of 5-bedroom. Quantum may appear to be very high at the point of time when it's launched, but the nearby area, there is a lack of 5-bedroom supply. So what happened? Fast forward today, Jadescape profits in terms of the 5-bedroom owners, they make a very decent profit of 600 over 1,000 to actually over $1 million. Because again, not all the 39 units were out for sale. And in fact, if you look at the transactions, there's actually very little transaction, but there is actually a demand for the 5-bedroom in this area because of the very little supply. So we may not be looking at, there's going to be a huge pool of buyers coming in, but you just need that 1 or 2 buyers for your unit because again, the supply is so little. Even if you to sell, right, we are just probably that 1 or 2 units out for sale. So that's the reason why for the 5-bedroom, you're able to make a very decent profit when the supply is very little in your area. So coming back to Jadescape right now, what Jadescape has been transacted in terms of the sale price, look at this, 4.55 million, 4 over million for a 5-bedroom, fast forward today. So for a 4 over million, Jadescape in the Marymount area, there is also a lot of landed housing. So very similar to, again, the situation in Chuan Park. So back then, when this 4.55 million was transacted, we can also see that there is also transactions in the nearby surrounding landed, which is actually sold. This one, this address, 30 Jalan Pintau, was actually sold at 3.4 million only. The land size is 2039. Much lower price. But why is that so? Very likely this is actually an old development, an old landed house that requires massive renovation. The other one is actually sold at 4.3, 1,006 square feet at 4.3, much higher per square foot. Very likely this is actually a much newer development, much newer landed house. So you see, Jadescape is actually sold at 4.55. Again, you don't need a lot of buyers for your 5-bedroom. You just need that few buyers looking at brand new condo development, 5-bedroom. Because even though for the same amount of quantum, you can actually buy nearby landed, there are still buyers who actually do prefer brand new condo, big size, big floor plate. So that's for 5-bedroom in Chuan Park. So that's the end of my analysis for Chuan Park. I hope that you have a better in-depth understanding of how the pricing developer might likely price for Chuan Park as taking reference from Momentum Park, because again, very likely, same developer, they will use back the same pricing strategy for their new and upcoming developments. So with that, you will be able to better understand, because if let's say today you are someone looking at a 3-bedder in Chuan Park, and on the launch day, for 3-bedroom, there's actually 400 units. So the question to ask is that, which are the units that you want to take the price in terms of making a good reference and making a good choice? So again, we need to understand how developer price the overall development so that on the launch day, you will not be too anxious to be making into a decision. And if you do not know a proper analysis of the development, you may end up with a wrong choice. So this is the whole analysis of Chuan Park. Like I mentioned, I hope you enjoy my video and you have a better understanding of this whole development and it's very likely how it's going to be priced. So if you have any questions, do feel free to reach out to me. I'll be able to go through a more in-depth analysis with you in specific to which is your layout that you are looking at. So thanks for watching, and Chuan Park is actually having its preview ongoing, so do feel free to reach out to me and I'll see you in my next video. Thank you.